Hey, how's it going? So I wanted to make this video to kind of lay it all out there and show you some of my background and my beginnings. This video, I'm going to show some of my worst music and talk about the challenges, the lessons I've learned, and the things I did wrong when I started out making music. And I'm making this video for those of you out there who are making your own music and you're on your own process. I want to just share some of the things I did wrong, and hopefully you can learn a thing or two. Be sure to stick around for all the tips. I think each one of them has some value in there, and I want to hear your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. So let's get right into it. This video has a little bit of a looser structure than my other content out there, but I just wanted to talk to you guys and show you some of the behind the scenes where I came from and how bad my music was when I first started. So let's check it out. So I want to talk about 3 mistakes that I made when I was first making music 10 years ago. I wanted to make this video to show you what you should not do as a beginner musician or producer. This is the computer that I started with. It was my father's main DJ computer at the time. He would go out and use this for DJ gigs every week. At some point, the screen got cracked, and I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's in this computer and the mistakes that I made when I started producing music. I got Ableton Live in February of 2013. What I then did was I made a bunch of music and I exported about this much of it. I never felt that I had the right sounds. I never felt that I had enough to work with. I became a Pokemon collector of sounds, free synths, cracked synths, all sorts of stuff. And this computer is filled with random files. And I wanted to take this time to look back on those things and talk about why I was going at it the wrong way. When I sat down at the computer to make music, I was way too worried about the equipment that I had and whether or not I was prepared with enough stuff to make music, as opposed to just focusing on making music. So I've amassed a huge collection of random things, and while there's no longer any of my project files on this computer, they've been wiped, I do have a lot of the remaining exports from this computer, and I thought we'd go through and play some of them. I backed almost all the files of this computer onto another hard drive in case something goes wrong with this, so I can keep it as a backup. But yeah, let's take a look at it. This is the computer I used to do a talent show performance of, where I made a dubstep rendition of Sail by AWOL Nation. So the number 1 mistake: don't collect things just for the sake of collection. I scrambled through every Reddit page, every article about free synths, free this, free that. And the funniest part about it is that I had one of the most popular, powerful synthesizers at the time. I had Native Instruments Massive on this computer. Also, the second Christmas I started making music, I got FM8. Here's the manual for it. I didn't even know I still had this. I had the most powerful tools, and yet I went trying to find all this free stuff. I was chasing the dragon of sound design, trying to create dubstep music. That was the sound that was like really popular at the time, and I was trying to go after. That was a total mistake, and it was a trial and error thing, and I've come on the back side of it, and here I am today actually making stuff that I'm proud of and actually finishing songs. So that's the first thing. Second mistake: I didn't finish enough. I've talked about in earlier videos about the power of this one book I read called Making Music by Dennis DeSantis, and it completely changed how I perceived creating music. He talks about how finishing music is part of the practice process. You need to finish things in order to get better at finishing music. If you never practice that, you're never going to get better at it. We practice all these other things in our musical ability, playing guitar, learning the keys, but if we don't practice hitting export and saying we're done with a project, we're never going to get better at exercising that muscle. I created so many things on here. While there's not any of the project files still, I know there were hundreds and hundreds of little 4-bar loops and collections of little vibes and sound palettes. I wish I had these still so that I could talk about them and talk about the mistakes there, but practice finishing music. There is a time that you can set aside for discovery, experimentation. So set aside time for that, but also set aside time for, this is the day I get this song done, for instance. Try to make progress on your music. Make that a part of your calendar schedule. When you sit down, try to make a goal to finish music. Of course, if that's what you want to do, if that is your goal, to get music out there as opposed to just being a hobbyist who likes to tweak things. There's totally a place for that, and that's okay too. Third mistake: look beyond the marketing. I fell victim to so many marketing tactics here, and it just goes to show how great some of these companies are at advertising their products. They put out these sounds in the style of a certain genre or a certain artist. You know, we have EDM drops in here, all these different sound banks and stuff like that. I'd be rich if I had $1 for every preset file in here that's labeled Skrillex or some other like dubstep name. But that's just a sound file. It's what you do with that and how you make music with it that creates that sense of artistry that we think about with our favorite artists. The preset or the product that we're using only gets you so far. It's the stuff that you make with it that is the real art, is the real music that people want to actually listen to. So just downloading a synth preset or a vocal effect rack that has, insert your favorite artist here on the title is not going to make you that person. I did that quite a bit. These are presets that I downloaded from the internet, and I get them in the software and I hit the note and I'm like, wow, that does sound like Skrillex. And then I never actually went on to use the preset in any of my music. I just kind of kept it in my collection. I recently thought about this idea of marketing and advertising when I had an energy drink in my hand. This can that I was holding, it was textured. It had this beautiful orange and black and white design on it, and it promoted all of these benefits that you get from drinking this energy drink. But if you were to just pour that into a glass, all of that branding just goes away, and now you just have this sugary orange juice, and it might taste good, but the power of suggestion is so real with this branding. It makes me think that if I drink this, I'm going to have certain effects, I'm going to look a certain way, I'm going to feel like the people in the advertisements that you see out on the beach doing extreme sports, etc. But if you just pour that drink into a glass, it's still just an orange liquid. Same thing with music products. There's so many synthesizers out there that say all these certain things, whatever, but unless it's a new type of synthesis or a way of making music we've never heard before, take all those plugins out there, drip plugin, sauce plugin. If you think about what's really inside of those, it's possible you can get that same type of effect without spending the money on this exact piece of UI and branding. All right, now that we talked about that, let's go over and listen to some of these terrible songs. All right, so first things first here is that upon going through all of these files, I actually found a lot of music, old music of mine that I really liked, and it gave me all these ideas for future videos about the music process and getting better as a musician. But this is not that. This is just straight awful. Middle school play. The two people who were leading the play, directing the play, they said, "Hey, you make music, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Can you please make us some nice intro music that the people could walk into when they come in to watch this play? They can sit down and listen to this nice background music before the play starts." Sure, of course. So I composed 10 minutes of music. I called this track Ambient Dubstep. I feel so bad for the people who had to endure that. It is better than the other track, but not by much. All right, let's go to one of my first tracks that I ever put on SoundCloud. It has been deleted since that point. At the time, I was just going in and I didn't understand really how Ableton works, so I just dragged in all these sounds and I started just making rhythms and stuff and making these MIDI clips, and I would just turn on the draw mode and just like draw around like madness. And it was some fun experimentation, that's for sure, but it didn't lead to great results. Before I play this, I remember the cover photo I put on SoundCloud for this song was that stock image from Windows 7 of a penguin that's like doing this. So put that in your head when you go and listen to this. This is so far from what I intended to make when I first got all of this equipment and software. I thought I was going to be making music like Skrillex, not experimental glitch music. And then another talent show track, I played this in front of all of my peers. It's a remix to Turn Down for What, and I don't know what happened to the audio quality. It just sounds awful, but let's take a listen. I'm gonna skip past the part I might get a copyright strike on and play this. And this track, it's called Enormous. This track is completely built out of a Native Instruments machine expansion pack called Electric Vice. It was for like electro house type music, complextro kind of stuff that I was really into at the time. And this song is just like a stitching together of all of the stock audio samples, and it made no sense. But I will say the one thing that was kind of cool about this track is that I thought it was the best one that I had at the time, and it led me to submit it to a couple different places. I emailed the guy from Vsauce 2, I think. I sent him this track, and he actually replied and said, yeah, I could take this track and put it in our Bye to Pie radio playlist. And this song on YouTube, it got like 1,000 views, which was awesome at the time, and I was so psyched. And I don't know why I didn't pursue that further. Maybe I could have had a more organic artist growth if I were to have done that. So another lesson is to really put yourself out there. Really put yourself out there. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't brazenly put yourself out there when it comes to trying to make a name as an artist. It's something I should have done more when I was getting into this, and letting my guard down and not being so worried about what I'm sounding like, because even this trash got put onto a playlist by a pretty big YouTube creator. It made no sense, but it did get put out there, so that was kind of cool. Alright, last piece of advice in this video, and the last track I'll play you. When you go to make a track and you start with one idea, but then sometimes you go halfway through and you think, maybe I should change this to something else. I caution you to at least make a copy of the song in another file. Do a save as and call it something different, version 2 or something. This song was a big mistake. The song starts out actually really nice, and looking back, if I were to have finished the song in its original vibe and aesthetic, it would have been one of my best tracks at the time. But I totally messed it up because I started this as an ambient kind of hybrid piano and electronic sounding song, and then halfway through I was listening to a lot of really hard trap music at the time, like dance trap, like EDM festival trap stuff. One of the artists was GTA, and they had all these crazy drops with really intricate percussion and stuff like that, and I was really inspired by it, so I tried to start taking some of those elements and infusing it into this track, and it was a terrible mix. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the beginning of the song, and then I'm going to show you the point in the middle where it all went downhill. Not mixed well, but compositionally probably the best thing I had at the time. There's this little breakdown. So not too bad, but then I totally messed it up at this point. It sounded like I just held down a note repeat on a drum machine. I mean, there's so many random percussion things, it's just so unnecessary. It really messed the track up. This is an example of me doing too much. It could have been good, but I went too hard on it. So I just wanted to take this time to go through and show you some of the things I did, some of the things that you should not do, and I want to hear your thoughts on this whole process as developing as an artist. Please leave a comment down below and tell me about the things you learned over time as you got better at making music and taking your vision that you have in your head and putting it out into the canvas that is your software or your guitar or whatever instrument that you call your own. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit different to the previous content that I've done, but I wanted to try a looser style and just talk to you guys and relay some of my stories, because I feel like we can learn a lot through stories. They really help us retain information when we're talking about some of these topics. And I hope some of this content can help you think about the ways in which you've grown as an artist, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, by the way, I'm so thankful for 500 subscribers. I just reached that this last week, and it's really awesome to have that milestone. So thank you so much for all the support so far and all the lovely comments that you've given me. Let me know down in the comments below what else you'd like me to make some videos on, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much.